Last week on his show, Elias Mako spoke to Yuri Chassin, the MNA who jumped ship from the CAQ in order to sit as an independent. Now, Chassin is an economist by training. He had done work with the right-leaning Montreal Economic Institute before he got into politics, and he explained to Elias how he became disenchanted with the way the CAQ was, in his view, drifting away from its roots and how it was administering the province and racking up a deficit. He, last week, was saying he had no intention of joining the Conservative Party. But we have the leader of the Conservative Party now inviting any other disgruntled CAQ members to join that political affiliation. And here to tell us more about that is the leader of the Quebec Conservative Party, Eric Duhaime. Thanks for joining us on the Elias Mako Show.
It's always a pleasure.
So what prompted this call for any disgruntled CAQ MNAs to jump ship to you?
Well, I've listened to Yuri Chassin's interview with Elias and the others that he did with other media last week, and everything he said about the CAQ's mandate and the record of the CAQ, actually, I agreed with it. I mean, I could have said the exact same thing. He's saying that Quebecers are paying way too much in taxes and the services are not at all what we're expecting. He's also saying that it's totally unacceptable that a party that promised to balance the books is now having $11 billion deficit this year, and that he's also proposing solutions like adding the contribution to the private system so we have better care in Quebec. He's also talking about exploiting our natural resources so every Quebecer could benefit out of it. All things that the Conservatives have been saying for years. And you have to know that I've known Yuri Chassin for like 20 years almost, because we were both working at the Montreal Economic Institute at the time. And he's always been a friend. He decided to fight for his ideas for within the CAQ, within the party of François Legault. I decided to do it outside. And now it's time to realize that it was a failure to do it inside, because people who were pushing for less state and more money in taxpayers and workers' pockets have lost all their battles within the CAQ, and we need to fight from outside the CAQ. So that's why I'm welcoming everybody who have shared those ideas.
At the time when he announced that he was leaving the CAQ, he indicated that he was not alone in thinking that the party had drifted away from some of the original ideas and determination. He talked about courage to implement the major changes that were needed to make a big change for taxpayers. And he felt that he was not alone, that François Legault was hearing that from a number of members of his caucus. Are you hearing the same rumblings that there is discontent within the CAQ on this score?
Not only do I hear the same thing, but I thought that Yuri Chassin wouldn't be the first one to jump ship, because there's other MNAs who are even more fed up than him within the party. And there's at least 2 or 3 others that I'm talking to that share the same views. I know that he did the same pitch a week before he left the party, and he was applauded at the caucus. And I also know that François Legault, in his press conference, when he reacted to Chassin's departure, he admitted that there's other MNAs who share the same views. So I think, it's a coalition, that party, and there is a wing. The former ADQ people, the more fiscal conservative ones within the party, are very mad right now, and they're not happy because it's kind of a PQ 2.0 without a referendum right now, the CAQ, if you look at it. Economically, they're leaning towards the left, and they're always talking about language issues, and they're obsessed by those kind of issues, and they're not at all delivering what small C conservatives are looking for.
So not at all delivering small C conservatives. What would you say? What appeal would you make to those disgruntled CAQ members to get them to jump to big C conservatism in Quebec?
Well, I think that, I'm not mad or unhappy that Yuri Chassin didn't join the Conservative Party of Quebec right away. I think that it's normal when you abandon your partner that you've been with for several years. It's not always a good idea to take your luggage and go to another partner's house. I think you need kind of a period in between. We don't want to be a rebound. So we have to make sure that things are done properly for the right reasons. to make sure that we know each other better. And that's what I'm going to try to do with Mr. Chassin and with the other MNAs who share our views. I think it's important, like Quebec is in very bad shape economically speaking right now, and there needs to be a change. And unfortunately, the four parties at the National Assembly are representing the exact same thing. They're always in favor of the traditional Quebec model that is broke, and we think it's time for a true change, and it's the Conservatives that are offering it right now.
Given that the CAQ probably has its eyes on the next election, and they do have some major reforms underway. For example, the creation of Santé Quebec, and then this whole new the law dealing with Hydro Quebec and the plan for the future and the switch to sustainable energy and so on. How could the opposition, you and Chassin sitting as an independent, encourage? How could you arm twist the CAQ into taking on any more difficult fundamental changes when it already seems to be struggling with what it's got on its plate?
Well, I think that the economic reality is going to catch up one day or the other. If you look at all the subsidies, for example, I'm going to give a very concrete example. All the subsidies that they're giving to for the battery file and for the electrification of transport in Quebec, it's leading towards the wall. I mean, if you look at what's going on with Northvolt, for example, on the South Shore of Montreal, the governments have decided they're going to give $7.1 billion in subsidies, and that's not. I mean, we see that the company is very fragile right now. We see that it's not 100% sure that we choose the right model for the future of what we're going to use in 10, 20, 30 years. So there's a lot of risk. For Conservatives, it's not the government's business to decide the winners and the losers within the private sector. The duty of the government is to make sure that there's the best fiscal treatment for everyone, and that we don't discriminate one business against the other. And I think that because of the failure of where the CAQ has invested over the last few months, they'll have no choice but to realize that they need to stop that model. It's not working. It's broke.
Aside from the subsidy model, are there any other areas where you think the CAQ might be particularly vulnerable?
I think the deficit, $11 billion deficit. It's in Quebec's history. It's the highest we've ever had. I hear that there's all sorts of difficulties right now to close the book before the end of 2024. We'll know because there's going to be a mini budget in December. But the agencies in New York are not very patient, and Quebec will have to make sure that they balance the books much better. And I think that there's a huge pressure coming from there as well, where they'll have to make a small C conservative change within a very near future.
Aside from asking pointed questions in question period, what can a party in opposition do to turn this behemoth of a government?
Well, there's all sorts of things that we can do. For example, 3 weeks or a month ago, we started a campaign against the what the government is doing. They're trying to make sure that it's forbidden in Quebec to sell hybrid and gas cars. We've started a petition. It's the petition that got the most signature in the last year in Quebec, all parties together, even the petitions at the National Assembly. And it did put pressure. We're not even present in the National Assembly, and the minister had to come out and answer our questions even if we're not there. We also got some people from outside supporting us, and now the pressure is growing and growing. We did a poll showing that 2/3 of Quebecers agree with us. So there's a lot of things that a political party can do. I mean, you need imagination. Like, for example, today we're doing a press conference in a school bus because we want to talk about the subsidies that have been given to that industry, $450 million to make sure that there's electric buses in Quebec. And after 3 years, we can see that it's already a failure. So we're going to give all the data and show what's going on with that industry. I mean, there's a lot. We need to use our imagination to make sure that we reach as many people, as many Quebecers as possible.
Eric Dam, thanks very much for joining us on CJ 8800.
It's always a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.